Blood of My Blood Season 2 Official Trailer. First look. What if Henry never made it back to his own time? What if the stones didn't send him where he wanted to go, but where history needed him to be? Because after that Blood of My Blood Season 1 ending, one theory is becoming impossible to ignore. Henry might have reached Claire's timeline. And if that actually happened, then Season 2 is about to change Outlander forever. We could be looking at the biggest crossover moment this universe has ever done. But the deeper you look into it, the darker the story becomes. Because if Henry really reached Claire, then Julia may have been left behind completely alone. The ending of Season 1 gave us one of the most frustrating cliffhangers in recent Outlander history. Henry and Julia were finally at the stones. Archibald and his men were right behind them. Everything was collapsing around them. And just when they were about to escape, the season ended. We never saw where they ended up. And honestly, I think the show did that on purpose because the answer could completely reshape the future of both Blood of My Blood and Outlander itself. The biggest detail everyone keeps forgetting is the gemstones. During Henry's first time travel, the gemstones inside his watch were lost. That detail might seem small, but in Outlander lore, gemstones matter a lot. They help guide time travelers and protect them during the journey. Without them, traveling through the stones becomes unpredictable and dangerous. So, if Henry tried to go through the stones again without understanding how any of it worked, there's a huge chance he didn't return to the timeline he wanted. And that's where things get really interesting. What if Henry accidentally traveled into Claire's time? Think about it for a second. Blood of My Blood has been building connections to Outlander since the very beginning. Not just emotionally, but narratively. The entire story feels like it's slowly moving toward one massive intersection point. And Henry arriving in Claire's timeline could be exactly that moment. Because imagine Claire suddenly coming face to face with her own father, a man she barely knew, a man who existed more like a memory than a real person in her life. That reunion alone could become one of the most emotional scenes in the entire franchise. But honestly, I don't think it would be, because Henry would immediately realize, and that changes everything. The moment Henry understands Julia didn't make it through the stones with him, panic is going to take over. He won't care about the future. He won't care about understanding time travel. He'll only want one thing: going back, finding Julia, saving her before it's too late. And if the writers really want to connect Blood of My Blood to Outlander in a major way, this is where Roger could enter the story. Roger is one of the few people who truly understands the danger of time travel. He knows what happens when someone gets how brutal history can be. So imagine Roger helping Henry figure out the stones, helping him understand the rules, maybe even traveling with him. That would create a direct bridge between both shows in a way that feels natural instead of forced. But here's a terrifying part. What if Julia never made it through the... There's another theory growing among fans, and honestly, it might be even darker than Henry reaching Claire. Right before Julia entered the stones, Archibald and his men were extremely close. The season intentionally showed how chaotic the situation had become. So, what if Julia was captured at the last second? What if Henry disappeared through the stones while Julia stayed behind screaming for him? That would completely destroy, because Henry would be trapped in another timeline, trying desperately to return, while Julia would be left alone in the past, surrounded by enemies. And if Archibald captures her, she could eventually be taken to Simon Fraser. That possibility becomes even more dangerous when you remember William. Julia isn't only trying to survive anymore. She's trying to protect a child. And honestly, I think season 2 could become much darker because of that. Season 1 still had moments of hope and romance, but season 2 feels different already. The atmosphere around the story is changing. War is growing closer. Families are breaking apart. Time travel is becoming more dangerous, and the emotional consequences are starting to feel heavier than ever before. That's especially true for Brian and Ellen. At the end of season 1, they finally found each other after everything they suffered through. But peace never lasts long in this universe. The Jacobite Rising is beginning, and Brian already made his decision. He's going to fight, even knowing what it could cost him. And honestly, watching that happen feels tragic because Outlander fans already know how devastating this. But there may be another emotional twist. There's a growing theory that Julia could leave William with Brian and Ellen if she realizes she can't protect him anymore. And if that happens, the entire meaning of their story changes. Suddenly, William isn't just connected to Henry and Julia. He becomes tied directly into Fraser history itself. That could explain why Blood of My Blood keeps focusing so heavily on family legacy and inherited pain. Because the choices these characters make now could echo across generations. And honestly, the more you think about it, the more heartbreaking it becomes. Because none of these characters are really fighting for themselves anymore. Henry is fighting for Julia, Julia is fighting for William. Brian is fighting for the family they're trying to build before war destroys everything around them. Every single storyline is connected by one thing: fear of losing the people they love. And that's exactly why this story works. The emotional side of Blood of My Blood is what makes the theories hit so hard. These aren't just random twists, these are characters people genuinely care about. So when fans imagine Henry finally reaching Claire, it isn't only exciting because of the Outlander connection, it's emotional because of what it means for him personally. A man completely lost in time finally meeting the daughter he never truly knew. That's powerful. But there's still another mystery nobody fully understands yet: Fanny. Season 1 quietly planted the idea that Fanny could become incredibly important moving forward. She discovered a gemstone. She became connected to the mystery of time travel. And if she experiments with the stones without fully understanding them, she could accidentally end up inside the Blood of My Blood timeline too. That would create absolute chaos because, unlike Henry and Julia, Fanny comes from a completely different perspective. She could become the character who starts uncovering how unstable time travel really is. And honestly, I think the show is slowly building toward that reveal. Because right now, the stones still feel mysterious, dangerous, unpredictable. Nobody truly controls them. Even experienced travelers struggle with understanding where they'll end up. So, if multiple characters begin traveling between timelines at once, season 2 could become the most emotionally complicated chapter in this universe so far. And the scariest part is that not everyone may survive it. Because Outlander has never been afraid of pain. This franchise constantly reminds us that love and loss exist side by side. Just when characters finally find happiness, history tears it away from them again. And Blood of My Blood seems ready to continue that tradition in a massive way. That's why I keep coming back to Henry. Because if he really reached Claire's timeline, then season 2 is about to give us one of the most emotional moments in Outlander. Of My Blood season 2 is no longer just a prequel story. It's becoming something much bigger. The connection to Outlander is growing stronger. The timelines are getting closer. And it feels like we're heading toward a moment that could change this entire universe forever. So now I have to ask you, do you think Henry actually reached Claire's timeline, or do you think the stones sent him somewhere completely unexpected? And what about Julia? Did she make it through, or was she captured before she ever got the chance? Drop your theories below because honestly, this might be the most important mystery Outlander fans have had in years.